Good afternoon. Please be seated. Honoured guests, the Worshipful Mayor of the Borough of Elmbridge, Councillor Mary Sheldon and her consort, Mr. John Sheldon, board members, Mrs. Claire Ferguson, Chief Executive of ACS Schools International, Mr. Tim Cagney, our guest speaker, Mr. Ben Cohen, you're very welcome, parents, family members, students, and let's not forget our high school graduates. It is my pleasure and my privilege to welcome you to this high school graduation 2019. And don't they look fantastic already? Now then, we have to do the health and safety bit. So in case of an emergency, we're not expecting a fire alarm to go off. But if it does, please don't run. Just walk to the exits where you can see them, at the back and at the sides, and we'll escape that way efficiently, okay? So that's it as far as the health and safety is concerned. And I hope you very much enjoy this graduation. It's certainly a wonderful occasion and a very special occasion. I've only been to 2 of these, and I've been mightily impressed by what I've seen. And the hard work of our graduates and staff here at ACS Cobham is represented in this wonderful spectacle. And let's not forget the support of all the families here as well for their loved ones. Now then, I have to say a few words, and they said to me it must be around about 5 to 6 minutes, so if you've got your clocks ready, I'll begin. And here we go. Mr. Gavin Charles, he's not with us unfortunately this afternoon. He's the Chief Financial Officer for ACS. And he made a very, very important observation whilst visiting the high school recently. He told me that he visited the grade 12 senior lounge. Yeah, that was brave, wasn't it? That was brave. And I must admit, when he told me this, the alarm bells immediately rang in my mind, and I was thinking, what member of staff was taking him around the building which allowed him to go and visit that lounge? Now, he went in, because he's a curious sort of character. He likes to go and see how things work. And he said, I went in and I observed the scene. And I said, was it okay? He said, no, there was no carnage. If that's what you were thinking. I said, well, I was a little worried when you said you were going in there. But there was music playing. And yes, the people were talking. The students were talking. But here comes the bit of gold. He said, the students were interacting and helping each other with their academic work. Wow. And problem solving, no less. He was most impressed and went on to make the comments that it reminded him a bit of scenes he witnesses on a daily basis in the accounts office in Haywood House. Now that worried me too. However, he said, no, this is really good. He said it was a really congenial work atmosphere. Admittedly, in Haywood, they don't have the banter and they don't have the music, but it reminded him of what was going on back in HQ. So hang on to that vision of expectant chaos and collaboration in the grade 12 senior lounge. Well, let's think about that word, uncertainty, for a moment. Uncertainty, it's such a word that sort of reverberates around the press and social media and across the globe at this moment, doesn't it? But I wonder in a sense that when Mr. Gavin Charles opened that door, was there any uncertainty in his mind? To be fair, he put his curious head around the corner and looked in. He broke the uncertainty of what might have been a room where you're saying you don't really want to go in there. But he ventured in and he was very pleasantly surprised. Students were breaking the uncertainty, they were collaborating and they were finding answers. It was a door he wouldn't normally have gone through, a place he wouldn't normally go, a path he may not have necessarily been comfortable with. But look, here's the magic. He learned something about the way students collaborate in this fantastic school. So I want all of us, especially our graduates, to learn from this example and use uncertainty as an ally. It is only when we start to look for the answers that we actually find the way. And the one thing I can be sure of in life is that there will always be uncertainty. And no matter how prepared you are, there's going to be something around the corner. But keep hold of your aspirations. Be courageous. And be not afraid to collaborate. To give of your time and maybe even to ask for help along life's journey. To be honest, collaboration is not always easy. And it can be hard work, especially if you're not keen with collaborating with those around you. So I think it's fair to say that you often get the best results from collaboration when you go that extra mile or kilometre with that person you don't know so well. Maybe you don't get on with so much, but you discover something new. And that discovery, which takes you on that journey, develops you as a human being and develops them as well. I believe these types of folks will challenge us and help us grow as people. And by working together, we actually reap the rewards of that collaboration and that giving and that initiative. So let me put it to you this way. Graduates, this is the crunch bit, so take this bit on board if you don't mind. Don't be afraid to take the fork in the road when those times come. When you've got to make that tough decision, don't be afraid of uncertainty, of traveling with those you've never made this part of the journey with before. Because wonderful things happen when you do take that fork in the road. It will bring the best out of you, it will bring the best out in others, and it will give you a life-affirming situation, I hope, which will help you grow as a human being and bring something vital to life. Because believe me, human instinct, given a chance, will often take the easy route. And you don't want to go through your lives regretting the fact that you always took the easy route. Take that tricky route. Trust me, you can ask my wife, she's in the front row. I've always taken the difficult route. It's probably why I got grey hairs, by the way. But it's been worthwhile. It's been worthwhile. And I would want you, all of you, to consider that. You can always go back and find the easy route once you've had the challenge of taking that tough route. But have a go. Have a go. Finally, use uncertainty to help you look for the answers and challenges you are going to face and collaborate with those you wouldn't normally think of collaborating with to get those tough answers. I think as graduates, and you are very fine graduates of ACS, you are very well placed as you all have a very open approach to people. And this is going to help you collaborate in the future with the sorts of folk that you're going to benefit and they're going to benefit you as well. So I'm going to finish with this quote from Winston Churchill, and I've added a little bit on the end as well. And Churchill sums it up like this. He says, "We make a living by what we get, but we make a life by what we give." From me, I would say, embrace uncertainty, collaborate, and give. Congratulations, graduates. I wish you all the very best for the rest of your life and the rest of your journey.
Ben Cohen, MBE, is a former Northampton and England rugby union player who came to prominence in the successful Northampton side that lifted the Heineken Cup in 2000. A big quick wing, his try-scoring ability brought him to the attention of England boss Clive Woodward, who handed him an international debut against Ireland during the 2000 Six Nations. Mr. Cohen became a regular fixture of the England side and became a prolific try-scorer on the international stage and was part of the team that won the Rugby World Cup in 2003, receiving a winner's medal and MBE after winning the tournament against host Australia. Despite interest from clubs in England and France, Mr. Cohen took the opportunity to announce his retirement from the game in May 2011, and will now focus on the Ben Cohen Stand-Up Foundation he created to combat homophobia and bullying. We thank Mr. Cohen for joining us today and sharing his time with us.
Hi all, and good afternoon, and thank you, Chris, for having me along today. And Malika, thank you very much for the introduction. I have 3 children myself, and I can imagine you're sitting there now thinking, how did my kids grow up so fast? And you're sitting here at graduation, and I bet you're immensely proud. I do a lot of different talks, actually, and this one is it's a different story for me to try and tell. And I mean, as a parent, I want to say, put my arm around them and say something really inspiring, but I want to talk about really my journey in when I was younger and coming through rugby and the transition from rugby into working life. And I was been thinking about this the last few days and what sort of messages that I wanted to say and tell. And it was one, I suppose, of resilience. And where life is never straightforward, and it's one of many twists and turns. And so I'll tell you how I started in rugby. I come from a sporting family of 2 world champions. One's in boxing in 1902, and my uncle George Cohen, who won the 1966 Football World Cup. Unbeknown to me, I was going to be the next world champion. And if you would ever see me play sport at school, you would think, absolutely no way, in hope and hell this guy will ever make a sportsman. And I remember when I was 12 years old, I'd just moved back from living abroad in Spain, and I'd been put in the wrong year at school. They had me down as a 77 baby instead of a 1978 baby. And I was staying over a friend's house on a Friday evening. And I went to a state school, so it was rugby was an elitist sport. It was played on a Saturday and wasn't part of the curriculum. So I went to watch my friend play. He was into all sorts of sport, and I was watching from the sidelines. And so happens that there wasn't enough players to be able to field a side. So the games teacher came over to me and asked, would I be able to make up the shortfall in players? And I had obviously said yes. Really, I frankly didn't have a choice. And if I'd have known what position that needed filling, I certainly wouldn't have played. And that position was prop, which is in the scrum. So I got sent to lost property. I had odd shorts on, odd socks, odd boots, and obviously the same jersey. And that was my sort of initiation into rugby. I'd gone up to the 3-tier system. I'd gone up to upper school, and I thought, my father had just gone bankrupt. It was early 90s. It was tough in the economy at that point, and we were in a mid-recession. So I thought, you know what? I've seen a notice on the PE board, and I thought I'd go and join an open day down my local junior club called the Old Scouts. So my dad and I started our journey together in rugby. And I enjoyed it, I have to say. I loved the inclusivity, the respect that, rugby really breeds. And I was okay at it. I wasn't the most skillful player in our team. In fact, I was far from it. And in fact, the coach told me as long as I had a hole in my backside, I'd never make a rugby player. And I know that's probably a bit wrong thing to say, but I wanted to say it because no one had belief in me to be a good sportsman. As I went on, I knew how to score tries, but again, I was a real shortfall on skill. Before I knew it, I was down my local senior club, which is called Northampton Saints, and I made my Northampton debut at the age of 17 against another fellow England player, which is, at that particular time, Nigel Heslop. And I have to say, about 19 years old, my career stalled a little bit. And I had to start investing in my game. I was about 20 years old, actually. I had to invest in my game. And I sat down with my dad and said, look, I'm not making the tackles. I'm not at the races. What's going wrong? And rugby was really in the throes of turn professional. So the infrastructure of rugby wasn't there. Didn't have the weights, didn't have the conditioning coaches, didn't have the backs coach. It was a physio that done the fitness training, as well as patched up players, as well as did the forwards and backs training. So it was sort of everyone mucked in, but it was a professional sport. So we turned up in the morning, we hung around for a bit and went home. I mean, that's what it was like. But I really genuinely wanted to give it a go. So I earned an absolute goldfish and a balloon at that time. And I had hired a coach, and within 2 months I had seen the benefits of what proper training and investment into me that was working. I managed to get myself back into the first team, but also get the eyes of the England coach. And within 10 to 12 weeks, I'd found myself actually being named in the England squad for the first ever Six Nations in 2000. And I made my debut on the 5th of February 2000, which was fantastic. And it's something that I dreamt of, something that I never thought it would ever happen, but I worked incredibly hard to try and achieve it. And I can't really express how it feels to run out at Twickenham with a full house and with 95,000 people sort of singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot. And I'll never forget the first touch of the ball I did, and it was a future royal I was going to pass the ball to. And unfortunately, Mike Tyndall and myself were on a very different level at that point, and I passed the ball straight into touch, and the jeers from the crowd are thinking, oh no, this isn't a good start for my international rugby. But I scored 2 tries on my debut, and it was absolutely such a fantastic day. But the biggest memory of that first ever Six Nations for me was playing against Wales, and we beaten Wales. It was a fantastic day. We won 3 from 3. We'd beaten France in Paris the week before. And I'd come in off the change room and I was sitting next to a guy called Will Greenwood. And we were discussing the game as you do and debriefing the game as you do after one of these matches. And Clive Woodward, our coach, so Clive Woodward was showing around 2 young boys, which I thought at that point were prize winners, which is quite often the case when you have a winning change room, everyone come in the change room. So I started to get unchanged and didn't really think of anything about it. So it's not that crude, so don't worry. So I took my shorts down, and as I was sort of taking my underwear down and busy adjusting myself, you're probably thinking, where the hell is this going? I had these 2 boys arrived in front of me, and I thought, oh no, I've got to meet these 2 boys naked, basically holding my things. And as I look up, I'm face to face with a young Prince Harry, and all I've got is, pleased to meet you. And he did shake my hand, but look, it was it was a great experience for doing that. But this is where my life changed. At that particular time, life was amazing. I was on top of the world. I was the highest try scorer of that first ever Six Nations. Nothing could go wrong. Friday the 13th. In October, I get a phone call from my brother saying that my dad was protecting someone and had got beaten to an inch of his life. And obviously my world fell apart. My family's world fell apart. I'd rushed into hospital and I've seen my best friend, my best mate, the rock of our family on his deathbed. And I'm talking, he was savagely beaten. He was bitten across the face. He was beaten up by 7 people, protecting someone, trying to help someone out in the moment of need, and they had turned on my dad. Rugby at that point didn't really mean anything to me, and you imagine life at that point was numb and blurry, and obviously being in hospital and seeing that for me wasn't where I wanted to be. We'd won the previous year. Actually, I'd won the Heineken Cup, the European Cup, with Northampton, and I was now on the eve of defending that trophy. A year later, that I was now faced with my dad, obviously going to lose his life. From the back of that, suffering from the hands of other people and seeing the ripple effect that it had, not just on me, but on my family, my mum, my brother, my friends and my family who were close to, not in our immediate circle, and the impact that had was huge. I mean, I've gone from I've gone from being on top of the world, and this is where I have to be, the resilience sets in, and how do I play again? How do I get those highs again? You know, how do I channel that aggression and anger that I had towards these men who have done this? And this is a crossroads. This is another crossroads in my life that I know that I've got to try and get over. I watched my mum do things that I'd never thought I'd ever get to see her do. But I went off the rails a little bit, not too bad, but enough to not do my teammates proud and lose my position on the pitch. But obviously we've got businessmen and successful businessmen and women in this room. And we talk about leadership. And we talk about the right leadership at the right time. And this coach was named Wayne Smith. And there's probably some people from New Zealand here. There's probably some big rugby fans here who know who Wayne Smith is. He's won 2 World Cups with New Zealand. Wayne Smith had the ability to make an average player good, a good player great, a great player international, and international players world class. His attention to detail was immense. It's what I needed. He picked me up and put me back on the tracks. And how he did that was he called me into the office. And I said, I needed that help and support. I needed someone to guide me through this pain and anger that I was misguided now. I didn't know where the hell to go. And he said, look, this is going to be one of the hardest conversations I'm ever going to have. You're either going to leave here with a job or without a job. But if you want to make it in rugby and reach the heights that you can achieve, then I will help you. So what we did is that I reset my goals, reevaluated my goals and my objectives of what I want to achieve. I wanted to be a world champion, and I wanted to become the best player in the world, especially in my position. So how I did that, I had to completely change my behaviour. My behaviour was being the first into training, the first out of training. I submerged myself into that sport like you wouldn't believe, which I'd imagine what some of you people do here. I lived and I breathed it. Every opposition that we came up against, I studied. I studied my opposite number. What was their weakest shoulder they tackled on? What they were like under the high ball? What's their favourite leg they kicked off? What are their stepping leg? How many steps they take before they kick? What are the key fundamentals that team do? What's the key players of that team do? I knew that when it come down to it, I needed to be that split microsecond ahead of what my opposition number was. And I know it sounds cheesy, but I wanted to be prepared for it. I knew that if I had that detail in my armoury, that when I went out there on a weekend, I'll be ready for it. I got my Northampton place back through bloody hard work. I got my England place back. And I got on that plane to the World Cup in Australia, which was back in 2003. I got into every starting team, which was amazing. It was a really tough pre-season World Cup camp, and we won the World Cup. Subsequently, I became the best winger in the world for about 6 years through hard work. I achieved my goals, and I remember coming back on the plane from Australia to Heathrow, being greeted by 35,000 people at the airport, 1 million people down Oxford Street and into Trafalgar Square, and we had tea with the Prime Minister and the Queen. And I got a speeding ticket on the way home. True story. But I achieved my goals through hard work and anger. And for me, that was my goal that I wanted to do for my dad. In 2007, I turned down going to the World Cup because my twin girls, Harriet and Isabel, were going to be born smack bang in the middle of the World Cup. For me, it was an easy choice. I wasn't going. I'm going to be at home for the birth of my children. But by doing that, it opened up another door. Not only did I get to be with my kids, well, at my kids' birth, but getting their room ready and being around that. I got a phone call from through a mutual friend, from a guy called Laurent, who who set up he wanted to speak to me about he set up a fan page on Facebook, and that it was in honour of me. And I said, this is a bit strange phone call. It was a bit out of my depth. I don't really know social media. And he said, there's 37,000 people on this Facebook page, and I've set it up in honour of you. And I said, well, are you sure you've got the right Ben Cohen? He said, yes, we have. He goes, but you need to know one thing about these 37,000 people. And I said, well, what's that? He goes, they're all men. And I've gone, well, why is that? He goes, well, you're a gay icon. And I said, what the bloody hell is one of those? And but actually, it was really interesting because when I took over that fan page, we shared a story. Yes, I'm straight. But actually, they suffered at the hands of other people because of their sexual orientation, because they're perceived to be different. And I'd suffered at the hands of other people, and I know the damaging effects that it can have, not just to my dad or me, but other people in my family, to the point of someone wanting to take in their lives. So I wanted to do something. Yes, I was a world champion, and I was the best player in the world at that point, or in my position. So I could be a role model. And actually something about being a sportsman that's often misguided, and really a lot of sports men and women across the world don't realise that they have an extra string to their bow and they never choose to use it. And is that actually they are role models. What they do on the pitch, court, track, ring, whatever it may be, weekend, is emulated on a school playground or something like that the next week. So the power of sports is huge. So I thought I'd say bridge that gap between gay and straight community. I thought I would become an ally. And it was really in an order of priority because it was my family first, sports second. At that time, it was my job, and then being an ally. And in 2011, I got to the point of where you guys are today. And well, not necessarily I wasn't graduating, I was retiring. I was retiring from a sport. Now, I'll tell you one thing you're armed, and you've got an education, and you've got everything to look forward to. And I tell you what, it's brilliant. Next steps, the next chapter of your life is going to be brilliant. Enjoy it and embrace it. At that particular point for me, I had become world class in something that was non-transferable to Civvy Street. I had to then now go into the world of Civvy Street not knowing really anything about business. I've forgone on education, further education, apprenticeships, all for sport. And while I said that at the very beginning about the time flies, we know time flies, and you kids that you're up here now, he's a good judge of time, thinking, wow, look how calm they've grown up. I never thought I'd get to retire. I retired, and I've got to go into work. But actually, do you know what? It was the support of my family was great, but I wanted to follow my passion, and I wanted to do something for other people, and it was around that bullying. So I set up the Ben Cohen Stand-Up Foundation, and I set it up in America because that was where my support and fan base was. And I was doing that. It was around about bullying, LGBT, homophobia, transphobia came within that, but it was racism, classism, sexism with that as well. So I created a brand with Nike called Be True, and got the eyes and ears of which was great, which is Microsoft, probably somebody who worked there, worked with them, with the Coca-Cola, obviously with Nike, and Kills, raising money. Basically, the foundation, how it worked, was actually, it was a social commercial brand where we sell products to support the cause. And it was great. It was very much like the Lance Armstrong's Live Strong, but that is a bad example now because it was built on a lie, but actually at its time, it was absolutely incredible. So we raised awareness of what bullying does long term, support those people who did real world work around that anti-bullying space, and that's around equality, diversity, which is now a big thing within companies about being, people being their whole selves in work and managing banter, etc. in the workplace. And then I brought it over here in 2012. I launched it here with Elton John and Wicked the musical. One of the other things that I've really I struggle with, I'm profoundly deaf. So when I'm the second highest try scorer for England, and there's only one reason why, is I couldn't hear anyone to pass the ball to. Every time I got the ball, I ran scared. I did Dancing with the Stars or Strictly Come Dancing here. I couldn't hear the music. I mean, every time there was a song and you have to put a step to a beat, I couldn't even hear the beat. So I've always challenged myself. Challenge yourself in everything you do, because it's important. Push yourself, because you'll achieve so much more and you'll enjoy life so much more. So one of the other things with the foundation over here is the people that we support and the differences that we make. I know that I'm getting pushed for time, and people are wilting with the heat, and you want to take pictures of your beautiful children graduating. Congratulations, guys. I know it was about being a bit resilient, and you're going to have ups and downs in your life, but make the most of it, enjoy it, work hard. Parents don't want to hear this, but play hard too, enjoy yourself, have fun, and make the most of everything. So well done, guys, and thank you.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the class of 2019, I would like to welcome all faculty, alumni, family, friends, distinguished guests, undistinguished guests, pets, gardening tools, to the 41st graduation ceremony of ACS Cobham. Well, graduates, we made it. Look at how far we have come individually and as a class. We have now officially completed high school and are much less likely to live in our parents' basement or to be found outside Piccadilly Circus twirling around a sign in a red gorilla suit. Looking back at freshman year, it seems as though it was just yesterday. I bet a lot of us can remember our first football match, our first class, our first crush, our first date, our first girlfriend or boyfriend, and our first girlfriend's best friend. ACS Cobham is truly a special place. In not many schools can you say that there are over 50 countries being represented right here in front of you on this stage. And luckily, we've all had the pleasure to share our high school experience together, and all our moments in life has led to this moment right here. This class of 2019 has undoubtedly been one of the most successful of ACS history. We have more than 30 service and charity clubs, such as the 22 graduates that trained and prepared to visit schools in Namibia during their summer in the Namibia World Challenge, or the Cancer Relief Group, which educate and raise awareness to support cancer research. In our years at ACS Cobham, our boys and girls sports teams have brought over 30 gold trophies and over 100 awards to ACS Cobham in 9 different sports through the ISST and LSSA tournaments. Our music and drama departments have put in tremendous work, making an incredible amount of 100 performances in our time in high school. Our various student organizations outdid themselves and proudly represented our school. The wide variety and support of these student organizations are instrumental to the construction of our success. Clubs such as MUN, a United Nations simulation to learn about international diplomacy, Ukulele Club, and Russian Debate Club are just some examples of what was offered to us and how these clubs have flourished over the last few years. Although there has been countless amount of successes and achievements in this group of fine men and women, there have no doubt been many challenges and obstacles. Every student has experienced his or her fair share of disappointments and upsets. Even me. Not too long ago, I was in the situation where I had to learn 2 years of physics in the 6 hours before my exam. But now I have the privilege to be able to stand here and talk to you today. Some of us kids might think we've got a pretty good free kick or a pretty good flow, but not all of us are going to become Messi or Lil Wayne. Still, we should not have fear of setting our goals too high and not reaching them, but we should have fear of setting our goals too low and reaching them with ease. In order to grow, we're going to have to step out of our comfort zone and do the extraordinary. We have to be honest about what we want and take risks rather than lie to ourselves and make excuses to stay in our comfort zone. Every once in a while, I challenge you all to embrace the differences we have with people in order to fully experience the gift of life. As a good friend of mine, Rocky Balboa, once said, "The world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. It's a very mean and nasty place, and I don't care how tough you are. It will beat you to your knees and keep you there permanently if you let it. You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward." The fact that we have made it here today, decorated with so many awards and accomplishments, is just a testament to our perseverance and commitment to excellence. It is a gift to all of us to be graduating from a school as great as ACS Cobham. So thank you, ACS. Now, Now, graduates, you are all destined for greatness. All of you are powerful, intellectual individuals that will make a massive footprint on this earth. Class, strive to be the best version of yourself. Graduates, brothers and sisters, I'd rather fight beside you than any army of thousands. Let no man forget how special you are. We are warriors. Congratulations, class of 2019.
Thank you, Zigor. Good afternoon. All of our 136 graduates have followed a college preparatory program that is engraved on their diplomas. A number of our seniors will be graduated today with honours. Students earning honours diplomas have demonstrated both academic excellence and consistency by earning at least a B average, additional academic credits, and no semester grade ever below a C. ACS Cobham have offered US College Board's Advanced Placement, the AP program, since 1970s. And in this class, there are several dozen potential Advanced Placement, or AP scholars. These are students who have excelled in 3 or more AP subject exams during high school and at the end of their 1-year AP courses. ACS has also offered the 2-year International Baccalaureate, the IP diploma program since 1986, and there are 78 full IB diploma candidates sitting in front of you. AP and IB results will be released in July, and we wish you guys all the best. Before I start to announce the graduates, I'd like to just have a little quick disclaimer. For the first time, we're going to try, and as their name is announced, have their picture on the screen. It worked last night, it's been practiced several times, but we all know technology. So if it does pause or does not work, I would rather give it a go than not try at all. That's our motto. Anyway, a special thank you to Ren and Jill Barker who helped me with that as well. We shall now present the diplomas. Nazli Abdelaziz. Kolbein Rockvi Adelsteins. Georgina Adamopoulos. Mustafa Palvan. Khaled Alian. Kira Amechi. Vittoria Avegano. Lauren Barker. Jacob Barlow. Carl Berger. Ilona Byro. Daniel Brahma. Ryan Brewer. Ekaterina Bukina. Lucas Berger. Gaia Caretta. Nathan Carey. Salome Cariat. Zara Civic. Ian Cockram. Jack Cowlard. Brooke Creswell. Joshua Kersley. Tiffany Tachizadi. Luke Davis. Chelsea Davitt. Lucas Dehaan. Tyne Dan Hollander. Sophia Dorado. Jonathan Ding. Jaime Dorado. Marina Dowdy. Kate Dewar. Giovanni Daudier. Sebastian Erb. Issam Ferris. Iona Fleming. Nia Fateva. Finian Fuchs. Sebastian Fusset. Yuto Fuji. Gonzalo Gagliardi. Anastasia Galkina. Pippa Gatley. Connor Goodwin. Robert Graham. Anders Grau. Stuart Gunn. Jared Gush. Obadiah Haddock. Alexander Hahn. Carew Harris. Alexia Heck-Johansson. Sydney Henry. Bethan Holloway Strong. Mohammed Imam. Karen Jeandell. Dev Javant. Vladimir Klashnikov. Ryan Casamani. Caroline Kelly. Jacob Kessel. Nicholas Khan. Tarim Kim. Danilo Kostenko. Anastasia Kozlova. Celine Christensen. Lewis Lasser. Ha and Lei. Carsten Lenterman. Margot Luverty. David Lundgren. Emmy Lundgren. Tommaso Mara. Elizabeth Maturek. Marco Makosi. Celine Mirza. Morgan Monjos. Ana Moreno. Charlotte Moss. Jack Nelly. Riley Nash. Shruti Natarajan. Rehan Naya. Shiko Jaguna. Henry O'Byrne. Caroline Oddfell. Luciano Olmos. Hasna Oldada. Alexandros Azunis. Joshua Piccini. Alessio Panasati. Bailey Pierce. Evelyn Perkins. Caitlin Perry. Samuel Phillipson. Tessel Hone. Musa Kure. Anita Ryan. Camille Richard. Yoma Rikstra. Sasha Ritchie. Victor Robson. Katrina Ross. Eva Roulat. Tamerlan Sagindi. Zigo Salazar. Sabila Shapira. Johann Schultz. Hamish Scott. Alexei Shilov. Rupen Shimazian. Marco Solimeno. Yi Yang Song. Patrick Spiegel. Christopher Sazinski. Clem Sata. Rurika Suzuki. Aya Swade. Hattie Swade. Alexander Thorpe. Lisa Todorova. Gigi Triplet. Ileana Tokikina. Leanjo Umali. Koen Van Ticklen. Valeria Vita. Stanley Waite. James Walkling. William Want. Crawford Wheeler. Renee Williams Abanji. Harry Weiner. Matvey Zemensky. Now, that concludes my role as your head of year. It's been an honour, a privilege to be part of your high school story. Good luck for the future, and thank you.
Good afternoon. We have special awards, and it is a tradition for us to recognise at ACS Cobham 2 students who have achieved the very highest academic averages in the class. And this is from amongst those who have spent at least 2 years in the high school. The second rank is named the salutatorian, and the first rank is named the valedictorian. The salutatorian this year, the student with the second highest academic average, is Bethan Holloway-Strong. The valedictorian, the student with the highest academic average in the class, is James Woking. And finally, I have the pleasure of announcing the recipient of this year's Founders Award. The Founders Award recognizes the student whose career at ACS has exemplified the vision and mission of ACS set down by the founders of the school. The winner of the Founders Award receives a beautiful silver Armada dish, some useful money, perhaps for textbooks, and their name is also placed on a plaque in the Marble Hall. The winner of the Founders Award this year is Sam Phillipson.
Good evening, everyone. I am so grateful to have this opportunity to address the ACS Cobham class of 2019. I'd like to issue a special thank you to our parents, head of school Mr. LeSean, principal Mr. Walker, our head of year Mr. Welch, our teachers, as well as all other board and faculty members in attendance this evening. We definitely could not have graduated if it wasn't for your continued support. One of the major founders of Western philosophy, Aristotle, is credited with the theories regarding excellence and the pursuit of excellence in the book, The Nicomachean Ethics. Aristotle's philosophy represents his views as to what it means to be fully human, or what the highest good a human can achieve. Aristotle spends his time dissuading his students from the popular ideas that becoming as wealthy or popular as possible are the most essential, but rather that the highest human good is, quote, activity of soul exhibiting excellence, or in other words, the best human aspiration is to pursue personal greatness. In this age, teenagers and young adults are constantly told, you are perfect, or you do not need to change. There are a couple of major problems that are caused by these sayings. The first major issue is that these sayings are incredibly limiting. By telling us that we are perfect the way we are, we have been robbed of any motivation to attempt to be better than we are right now. By telling us that we are already perfect, it is suggesting that we have already reached our greatest potential, even when it is obvious that we haven't. To clarify, I am not saying that you should ever be unhappy or depressed about yourself. One of the great aspects from graduating high school, is that now we have an endless array of opportunities. If you are unsatisfied with who you are right now, or more importantly, who you are becoming, there is no better time to continue the self-improvement that we have experienced these last 4 years than in the near future. The minute that we become complacent with ourselves is the minute we stop pursuing excellence, and as Aristotle would suggest, the minute we stop achieving the highest human good. Aristotle's influence extended from philosophy, physics, logic, zoology, and countless other subjects. Imagine the diminished value on the world had Aristotle's mentor Plato told him while he was studying, you are perfect as you are right now. Endless contributions in countless fields would be non-existent if Aristotle decided that he no longer needed to pursue excellence and became complacent with his success. A key example of our ability to pursue excellence is through our education. If we want to impact the world in a positive way and create lasting change, we need to be educated. Pioneer of open heart surgery, Russell Nelson stated, education is the difference between wishing you could help others and being able to help them. Now, I am not saying that education is strictly related to our academic studies, and the best way for us to impact the world is to become academics. We can increase our education and never stop learning no matter what we are doing, whether it is taking a gap year, going to university, or starting a career. Over the last 2 years, we have had opportunities to develop as students thanks to our teachers and the rigorous course curriculums that we have taken part in. Whether we believe it or not, we are some of the most college-ready students that are going to be entering university next year. We have had all of the preparatory experiences necessary to pursue academic excellence. One of the recurrent reasons why people fail in their quest to achieve excellence is that they do not follow through on their ideas. As Leonardo da Vinci said, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Being willing is not enough, we must do. In this day and age, ideas have become vastly overrated. Yes, it is important to have ideas and have goals for what you want to accomplish, but until you take action to achieve these ideas, the ideas mean nothing. Anyone can have ideas. It is the execution, hard work, and repeated failures that are put into achieving these ideas that will lead to achieving excellence. Currently, as a generation, we are rarely in the moment, rarely appreciating what is happening right in front of us. Rather than reiterate the cliche that education teaches us how to think, I want to suggest that the great freedom that true education brings is that it gives us the awareness to choose how we think. On May 21st, 2005, writer David Foster Wallace gave one of the best graduation speeches of all time at Kenyon College in the United States. The parable in his speech goes something like this. There are these two young fish swimming along, and they happen to meet an older fish swimming the other way, who nods at them and says, "Morning, boys, how's the water?" And the two young fish swim on for a bit, and eventually one of them looks over at the other and says, "What the hell is water?" The point of this story is to highlight that the most important and blatant realities of modern existence often are the ones that are the hardest to notice and hardest to acknowledge. One of the major lasting benefits of our high school experiences is not only the education that we will receive, but a newfound appreciation and simple awareness of who and what sustains and supports us every day. As we leave this stage of our lives and move on to stressful adulthood, we need to be constantly aware of these rare and essential instances of our everyday lives. Our lives are only going to become more stressful and more busy. More stressful than the IB diploma, AP capstone, math studies, or whatever gave you anxiety over these last few years. While at university, we will be in constant competition with each other for grades, internships, classes, friends, and other resources. Here, it would be extremely easy for us to be in our default setting of thinking. Wallace suggests that our default setting is when we are totally self-involved and assume that we are the center of not only our universe, but everyone else's. This idea that we often act as if the world revolves around us isn't popular, but in all honesty, as my parents would corroborate, in many instances this is an accurate statement regarding the lives of teenagers. We are often extremely self-absorbed. By living in our default setting, it would be easy for us to assume that our professor hates us because they wouldn't round our 53% to an A, that the fool who cut us off in traffic needs to be reported for reckless endangerment, or that the best way for us to deal with the stresses of university is to drink as much alcohol in the smallest amount of time. This is not the way that we should think. Rather, we need to acknowledge the unconscious default setting of our mind that is popular in mainstream society, the unconscious setting that suggests that the biggest needs of the world revolve around you and you alone. Wallace's ideas regarding our natural default setting are also echoed in psychology. In the book Thinking Fast and Slow, psychologist Daniel Kahneman illustrates how there are two systems that we use when we think. There's system one, which is simple, slow, effortful, and considered. System one is quick, effortless, and instinctive. On the other hand, system two is slow, effortful, and considered. Kahneman also highlights that humans are naturally lazy. Almost all of our thinking is done by system one, and almost all of our decisions are automatic and do not require much consideration. By attempting to consciously bypass our system one thinking, and attempt to realize the obvious realities around us, we can start choosing how we think about our surroundings. By acknowledging our tendency to be unconsciously selfish, we will be able to start choosing to think in more positive ways. When similar to the fish in the parable, we are surrounded by stressful and selfish-promoting instances of life, the waters of adult existence, we need to make a conscious decision to override our selfish default setting and remind ourselves that this is water. In addition to pursuing academic excellence, it is important to realize that everyone will have their own trials and speed bumps on their way to achieving excellence. Former Stanford University business professor Henry Eyring said, "If you are on the right path, it will only be uphill." As we go through university and beyond, we need to remember that it is unlikely that our path will go exactly as we plan. Already, many of us experience disappointment at not getting into certain universities, not making certain sports teams, and not making certain friends. Our disappointments and self-diagnosed failures will only feel larger and more heartbreaking as we get older. This is why it is so important to remember that if there are no trials or hardships in your life, you are likely living far below your potential. The greatest innovations and discoveries of modern civilization happened after countless failed attempts. Through focusing past our natural default setting, we can move beyond our setbacks and continue to strive for excellence. Part of not being complacent with our situation is not letting failures and disappointments halt our progressions towards excellence. Esteemed educator and former university president Jeffrey Holland said, "No misfortune is so bad that whining about it won't make it worse." When trials arise, and they will, Rather than use our default setting and complaining, we need to strive to make the much more difficult decision of simply trying again. I cannot emphasize enough how proud I am to be graduating with this class today. I've been lucky enough to meet almost all of us during my last 5 years at ACS, and I can attest that our class is full of stellar athletes, math geniuses, amazing debaters, and many other dedicated and talented individuals. All of us are potential Aristotles. I hope that we can choose to not become complacent with the amount of success that we have achieved today, thanks to our time at ACS, but instead bypass our natural default setting and constantly be motivated to pursue excellence. Thank you.
Again, a warm welcome to everyone, quite literally, and thank you for coming to the graduation of the class of 2019. As the last person to speak, I am very aware of the impending hat toss and the cold champagne awaiting us, so unlike the UK government seeking a Brexit deal, I will try not to drag this out longer than necessary. It is customary for me to give some advice at this time, and I often try to link such advice to a theme, and the theme I'd like to use this year is food. Now, we do a lot of things at ACS. We offer some amazing opportunities, but as I mentioned at the senior cocktail, we don't teach a lot of cooking, or for that matter, ironing, or how to use a washing machine. But parents, you still have time. Unfortunately, these days, you do not need to scroll through many posts on your Facebook or Instagram account to find a picture or video about food and how to prepare it. And yet, despite this plethora of videos and recipes and pictures of cooking and what to eat and not to eat, to the parents of seniors, you are about to be somewhat perplexed at the pictures of food your children will be sending you once they have left home. Now, as a quick word of advice, having gone through this myself, when you get a picture, wait before you comment, because context is everything. Now, the picture is likely to be brownish, and something that has pasta or rice in it, but as I said, wait. And it will allow you to determine if this is something they are happy about and are expecting some kind of praise or a happy emoji, or it could be a case they are, in fact, seeking advice as to whether you think it is edible and safe for them to eat. What is for sure is that the more they cook for themselves, the quicker they will realize that it is not how it looks, but how it tastes that really matter. And that is an important lesson, not just for food, but in life. Robert Orban remarked that at graduations, we will often tell students dressed in identical caps and gowns that individuality is the key to success. Graduates, as you look at each other, whilst you may appear similar today, you each know that you are all different on the inside. Each of you has unique strengths and passions, and you must each build on these and develop them. Don't be fooled or tricked into doing things for appearance. I hope your time at ACS has encouraged you to do the things for the right reason, to avoid the artificial, to recognize fake news, and to see things for what they are and not as they appear. You have regularly shown us you can do this, and I encourage you to continue to do so, to lead by example and avoid the quick fixes and easy way out. As you will find out when you cook for yourselves, when it tastes bad, no matter how good it looks. And for the alumni in the audience, for the record, Uber Eats and Just Eat are not considered self-catering. Now, another thing I think of when talking about food is recipes. When I was 15, I started working in a bakery, and I did so every weekend and every holiday until I was 18. And even when I was at university, I continued to bake. And as a baker, it is very important that you make sure you weigh everything carefully and you use the exact ingredients. And being British, I'm aware of our stereotype for following rules and instructions and sticking to the letter. And I must admit, I do like a good recipe, and I do tend to stick to them. My wife, however, is Venezuelan, and she aligns with a different stereotype. For her, a recipe is more of a starting point or a suggestion. It is less a set of instructions and more a place to begin. Take a chicken cordon bleu, for example, chicken, ham, cheese. That is what mine would have. Were my wife to make one, there would definitely be chicken in it. Ham, well, a kind of ham. And as for cheese, well, maybe. Now, I know I could technically question if it is still a cordon bleu, but I know better than that. And I also know that whatever it is, it will still taste fantastic. And that's the point. Without a bit of creativity, without questioning, without going against the grain, we will not come up with new things, and we risk the mundane. My cooking is actually based on other people taking risks, on their explorations and their adventures in creating recipes. And whilst a recipe is without doubt a great thing, without creativity, without experimentation, or trying something new, we can easily find ourselves doing the same old thing over and over. But as ACS students, you have options. As a class, you have repeatedly shown that you have it within you to do something out of the ordinary. You have excelled in all areas, be it in the classroom, STEM clubs, sports field, drama, music, MUN, clubs, charities, and many others. You are fortunate to be in a position where you can either choose the recipe you want to follow, or you can create one of your own. The decision is yours, and you are certainly ready to make it. And lastly, students, I'm not sure if your parents have ever made you do something you don't like to do. I suspect they have, and mine did too. There is a fruit in England, which some of you may have come across, and it's called a gooseberry. It is small and green. I see a few of you nodding. Maybe you've enjoyed them. I hate them. And just telling this story is quite upsetting for me. Now, as I mentioned, I was a baker, and so when it came time for someone in our house to make a pie, make a guess, it was me. And in our garden, it so happened we had a gooseberry bush. It was about waist height, and if anyone has ever picked a gooseberry before, they will know the bush has lots of thorns and spikes which prick you when you pick them. Now, my mum knew I did not like gooseberries, but that did not stop her from asking me to pick the gooseberries. It did not stop her from asking me to make the pie, or stop her from asking me to eat the pie, because after all, we couldn't let it go to waste, could we? I believe the cruelty to children laws were different in the 80s. When I turned 30, having lived away from home for over 10 years, I remember being in a restaurant and seeing gooseberries on the menu, and I shuddered. And I realized I still needed some closure on this. So I called my mum, and I asked her, I said, why? Why had you made me do this? Why make me pick them, make the pie, and eat it when you knew I hated them? Her answer was simple and enlightening. She said, I know, but we like gooseberries, and you made the best pie. Now, the lesson here is that it's not always about you. When you live in a family and have relationships, when you enjoy friends, when you start to work, in order to succeed, you often have to make sacrifices and do things that you do not like. When you think about today, graduates, there is no doubt you have made sacrifices to get here, but so have others. Spare a thought for all your teachers, who over the years have given a little part of themselves to help you succeed. To your parents, guardians, and families, who have made numerous sacrifices so that you could benefit and reap the rewards. There is a time to be selfish and a time to be selfless. So please make sure you get the balance right. And as a summary of what I've said and what I'd like you to take away today, it is 1, remember that looks can be deceiving, and it is what is behind the appearance that matters. In other words, it needs to taste good first, look good second. 2, don't be afraid to alter the recipe or make your own, because that is the only way that change can happen, and it is the only way we can improve on what has gone before. And thirdly, every now and then, be prepared to make a gooseberry pie, because for some reason, there are others in this world who like gooseberries. Thank you. Now, before we present our graduates and we all applaud one final time, there is one final piece of ceremony to perform first. Graduates, I would like to ask you now to pass your tassels from the right side to the left side as a symbol of your passage from one phase of your education to the next. Ladies and gentlemen, the class of 2019.